Welcome along. My name is Kath. If you haven't met me before, I'm a software trainer for NMR. And today we are going to be looking at Herd Companion, specifically bulk milk disease surveillance and Johne's. So without further ado, I will commence. Now, this is the second webinar on Herd Companion for this series. We always record them. We always put them up on YouTube so you can access the videos at any time. So there is one on there previously for milk recording information. And the next ones we have are for drying off information, selective dry cow therapy, and Ingenious, which is our genomics information. So I will just share my screen. There we go. Great. So I have muted everybody, and I've stopped the chat function as well, but there is a Q&A button. So anytime, if you've got a question, just type it into the Q&A. I can unmute if you want to ask it specifically, but I usually leave those until right at the very end. So Herd Companion today, we are looking at the bulk milk information just to show you what is actually available in case you weren't aware. Both things today are under the disease monitor header, and then we come straight down into here, all results. Now I'm using Hartbury University data, which is really good because they do absolutely everything, and they've got nice examples of the types of services that we do. And you can see here we've got some antibody testing going on, and this is the disease range that we offer on bulk milk. So you can do it as a one-off, you can do it as a regular thing, which is always useful for screening to see actual levels going on there. And this graph is interactive, so if you wanted to focus on a particular item, I can hide out of the way my IBR and my Neospora, and then just look at the liver fluke. No, actually, I'll just put that back on. Oh, I thought it was going to readjust the scale, but it doesn't do that, or it's not doing it right now anyway. But just to sort of, emphasize one graph at a particular time. So that's on there. All of your results will, of course, come into Herd Companion as they're tested, and you've got more detail here on these particular interpretations of results as well. So, I mean, there isn't an awful lot to show you, but that is the level of detail you've got, which is quite good anyway. And just give us a call if you want to test any of your bulk samples. We keep them in the fridge for 7 days, so they are all testable at any time. And your area field manager or area development manager, if you've got any sort of detailed questions on those. So that's the bulk milk side. And the next bit I wanted to focus on was the Johne's. So we try and keep these webinars fairly short because I know you're all very busy people. So without further ado, I shall go over to Disease Monitor again and HerdWise. Now HerdWise is the quarterly Johne's testing service most people are on, actually, which is the whole herd. There are different levels of Johne's testing. If you want to explore that, again, have a chat to your area field manager who can advise. If I go into here, and perhaps more importantly with your vet or consultant in terms of what level of testing would be best suited for you. But certainly HerdWise is thorough. It will give you a sense of trend. Johne's, as you probably know, fluctuates in its presence and prevalence, so it's important that you do test regularly to not miss out on any cows that might be hiding but actually shedding elsewhere. Higher levels. So we have a couple of graphs, and you've probably seen this. I think this is one of the areas on Herd Companion that people go straight into after a test result. So we've got a trend line over time, and you can see for this particular herd, the graph goes back to when they started testing. So it is complete historic information as well. You can view, there's a historic tab there. Any cow that was ever tested, all the results remain on here. So you can view going back, since you started, really. The breakdown graph, this one again interactive. You can see because we've got such good results going on here, there's not an awful lot to worry about, generally speaking, on this herd. But I can hide certain elements out of the way. I just take out the red, maybe take out the green actually, and then you can just assess, okay, how many animals are we talking about in each of the different segments there. And then you can just bring those back in as well. Everything on Herd Companion incidentally, resets itself. So when you've been in and you've clicked on something, you've changed the sort order, or I've changed the pie chart here, it will revert back to its original state. So you can click away. You can't damage or break anything. It's quite robust in that regard. We have here a summary of the last test date. So this one, of course, is potentially older if you're only testing every quarter. Sometimes the numbers here don't equate to the animals here. That is because you may have sold an animal since they were tested. So, you know, since February, we may have got rid of one or two, which then aren't displayed on this bottom table. So that's the only thing that would be a discrepancy. This bottom table is then, of course, live cows in the herd right now with all of their test results. And you can see they are in Johne's status order. I've got no J5s in here at all. And you can change the order as with anything on Herd Companion. These tables work in exactly the same way. If you were present at the last webinar I did, you can sort with a click on a header on all of these. You can find a cow. Don't rifle through 600 pages. Just click on here, type in a cow number, and you'll go straight to that animal. And then you can explore her data in a bit more detail. So we have got I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 columns worth of data. So the last 6 tests are displayed here. But as I said, there is an historic section at the top should you wish to go back further, or even into that individual cow. You'll have all her Johne's tests on there as well, in terms of a you know, low level, high level, whatever. If I take that cow out, it will then refresh back to the whole herd. And you're probably familiar with, you know, the concept of these test results in terms of values and how they are classified. So one relatively new area in here, and you might see it on yours in the comments. Now with Heartbreed, because everything is really tidy on the Johne's front, I couldn't find any, but we have priority culls. So over and above the J5 classification, which we're all quite familiar with now, we have got this one, priority culls. Now for here, I thought, well, I'll have a look, see what we've got. Not a lot. So I don't have any priority culls, but these are essentially taking it that step further. So our eyes are always at the top of the list. Who are the J5s? These ones we can prioritize for a cull certainly straight away. No bother at all. The priority cull list takes it that step further to look at any cow with 2 consecutive test results over 60. So that's automatically a J5 anyway, and or 1 test result over 100. So it might be you've got one particular cow that has had a high test. She will not come up on the radar as a J5 if all of her others in any 4 tests are low. So therefore she is now picked out as a priority cull because there is instance of Johne's there, and these animals may be shedding, you know, at any opportunity. I've got an example here, if I find this one. So just from another herd, we've got quite a lot of J5s going on this one. So they are automatically, as I say, priority culls anyway. So they're probably on the top of everybody's hit list. But even down to this level of detail, I've got a J2 who's been rumbling along quite happily, but she has had 1 high test. So this has resulted in her being a priority cull. So it's just keeping an eye on these ones and, you know, considering what may need to happen to them on the cull stage. As with all of these things, talk to your vet, talk to your advisor. They can advise you on the interpretation of results and the planned management of the Johne's, of course. So we were on the overview overall. Going back into here, and you've got different segments in the middle. I'm not going to click on all of these now, but you can look at, you know, your high risk cows as well, and different summaries. You may not see the cohort monitor. That one is set up for third parties, for vets and advisors specifically. So if you have interest in sort of different groups of cows, then, you know, talk to your advisor again on that one. The other bit that you will all have, if you are on HerdWise, is the Johne's progress tracker. And this one looks at your data again, but grouping it in terms of levels of improvement or otherwise over time. And these boxes analogize, is that the right word? They are very, the analogy is basically if you imagine a sink with water. Let me show you as a picture. Now, I must credit my colleague Karen Bond for this one. So in order to help you, what on earth does progression and persistence mean? If you use that symbol, I don't think I can display both side by side. Hang on, let me try that. I might be able to. Just, whoopsie, wrong one. Hold on. Try that again. No, I'll closed it down, haven't I? Well, second. Right, I'll deal with it one at a time, I think. So what we have in the middle of our drawing, so these are the outcomes, is a sink. So just flicking back into here, that's your disease level. What have you got in your sink, in your pot of yonis, in your herd currently? There are individual values here, or for the herd anyway, for each year. So as an average overall for the herd, and then proportion of those that are over 30, 60 and 100. So how much have you got and how bad is it? In the middle, in the top, we've got persistence. So this is the tap that's running, filling your sink. And again, if I go back here, you can see then this is focusing on the J5s overall. So over time, how are we improving for that top level of persistence? Progression, what's coming through that's new? So J4s creeping up, suddenly becoming a J5, and J4s P1. So P is parity in this case. So lactation 1 heifers calving in, bringing that disease in with them. So possibly infections through their dams and so on. So that is your pressure on your tap. How fast is that tap and how hard is that? No, that's pressure. Sorry. It's progression, how fast that tap is running. Your pressure is down here. My analogy isn't really working, is it, for me? But there you go. What are you doing to these infected cows? Are you serving them? And then we've got removal, which is the easiest bit. That's, you pull out the plug and you get rid of these infected cows. So just as a comparison there, if that helps you in any way whatsoever, probably not with my explanation. But the colour on here is important as well. Now, if we go to this bit down here, so it just puts all that data going further back. So again, since we started testing on yonis, I can change my page. So let's go to 20. Unlikely to have 20 years or so, but we've got then the test values for every year that we've been testing yonis, portion of the herd that are J5s. So these headings, you can just hover the mouse over if you need clarification on what they mean. So proportion of the level of infection. The colour coding is also relevant because what we've been able to do here is benchmark for about 230 yonis tested herds that have been on herdwise for a number of years now. I think we've got a 10-year sort of trend in there, hence the 2013. We can now compare your herd to the top 25% of those 200 odd herds. And if I just click on the key here, you can see then what that actually means. So it's a green to red, very simple traffic light system. Anything green, this sort of dark green here, is at the same level of the top 25% of these benchmark herds. We've got middle values, sort of the lighter green and yellow, and then we've got the pink, which is the bottom 25%. So as a comparison, and of course, within herd comparison, you can see automatically on the figures here, we've made great improvements on average test value. Numbers of J5s have been whittled down to nothing now. And we're keeping control of it coming in. So remember that running tap again. The 3 columns over here, picking up my bits as I go, we've got service, relative risk, calving and exit. Now, if I just leave that mouse hover over there, this tells you what it means. The likelihood of a J5 cow being served compared to her herd mates that are not J5s. So as a ratio figure, if it's, say, 0.5, then she's half as likely to be served compared to other cows in the herd. So right from, very early on in this one, we've established that we're not going to serve those J5s again. They've been 0 for a number of years now. Calving, So it's possible that, you know, that cow is already pregnant at the time of establishing that she's a J5. So those figures may take a bit of time to adjust, but we can see then we've cracked it here. We're not carving any J5s at all. In fact, they've actually gone. So that, you know, gives you those figures. In turn, then the exits, so likelihood of being culled compared to these. So again, a higher figure. For example, 4.6 on this one, they are 4.6 times more likely to go compared to another cow in the herd that's not a J5. Sometimes you might see figures that are blank on those, which just means we haven't got any data to compare to. So if nothing left the herd, you know, the other herd mates, we can't produce a figure, so can't divide by 0, essentially. So that'll explain those. Just as comparison, I've got another herd's data. Has that gone again as well? Yes, it has. I had all this open ready to go, but it's not working. Let's try that one. Yeah, there we go. So it's a different sort of comparison herd. We can see here there's an awful lot of pink going on. So our levels aren't quite where we'd want them to be, perhaps. But the exits, we are making headway in terms of getting rid of the J5s and not serving them, but we are possibly bringing in that problem through, you know, through breeding, essentially. So these P1s are creeping up all the time, and J4s equally are turning into J5s. So it's all about, you know, managing what's coming in, going out, and what's already there in the herd currently. So there's multifacets to this anyway. So hopefully Herd Companion can assist you, let's just come back to here, in interpreting, you know, what's going on for your herd compared to others as well, which is always of use to know, you know, where do I sit compared to other people. It gives you a good pool of comparisons on that one. So those are the main points I wanted to say today. I did say I wouldn't be too long. Let me just go up to my screen up here. Now, as I say, there is a Q&A session at the top, or it might be at the bottom of your screen. You can just click on the tab and ask a question. If you want to. I'm quite sure. I'll just pause for a minute in case you are frantically typing at me. Or I can open up the chat function if that would be easier, but it should work in exactly the same way. So as I say, these types of graphs and progress tracker, you know, how well you're doing. I see there's a question coming in. I shall just come to that in a second. Thank you. But yeah, there's help and guidance here, so that'll explain all of these different parameters, what the red and green means, you know, what exactly are we measuring on here, and the benchmarking. So it's only herd-wise that you've got the progress, because we're storing all of that data. We can draw out long-term trends. Any other disease, Johne's testing, there is herd tracker, which is a 30 cow screen. We've got Johne's 1, 2, 3 now, which is once, twice, or 3 times a year. So those values are very much, you know, on the fly, ad hoc as they go. Does a priority cull ever disappear? No, it will stay there until that cow goes ultimately. So that's yeah, she's on the hit list with those results forevermore until she's culled. Thank you for the question. Anything else from anyone else? I mean, do go and have a look now. Hope that will inspire you to check out your progress tracker. See what your dashboard looks like. You know, hopefully you've got a great deal of green. But if not, if things are worryingly in the wrong direction, then you know, hopefully your vet can assist you on that one. And another question, thank you. If a heifer gets a priority cull, would that stay on? Well, yes, if she comes in at 100, or, you know, any one test that is over 100, she's automatically a priority cull, regardless of what else is going on. So she is going to still stay on there until she's cold, basically gone. So your status, unlike J4s perhaps moving to a J3, that kind of change can of course happen. But with the priority coals, the way they are set up, you know, you're a J5 automatically in any case. You've got 2 high tests over 60. So those are, in a sense, sort of double labelled. But the ones that are over 100, I'll just go back into there. I know there's no cows to see, but it just illustrates it as well. So one test result over 100 is all it takes to be classed as a priority coal, and then yes, they will stay on that list. Incidentally, a lot of these lists as well you can export into Excel if you want to sort of take it out of her companion, or you know, print it off. Those are the routes to do so. So it's a nice PDF one for that as well as all the overall tables, any table on her companion actually. Okay, so I will just close up those. Any other questions at all? Or if you think of anything later on, do drop me a line or give software support a call. So if we're all done, that's fantastic. Thank you all very much for attending. And yeah, watch out for the next one. We've got a webinar coming up. Yeah, we're trying to do one a month. So there's one in June and there's one in July so far. And so there's more to follow, and you can catch up on the NMR YouTube channel. These are all posted there, you know, as soon as they are processed, so you can watch it all over again. Okay, so we're all done. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day. Bye bye for now.